Hey toy fans, Aaron here. Today taking a look at the vintage collection release of Hondo Ohnaka. And he does, as you see, come to us on the vintage collection card, only with that Star Wars branding. Now this is technically the Galaxy's Edge version of Hondo, not how we saw him in Clone Wars or Rebels. But I gotta say, I wish the branding was separated out a little bit more than just being on the generic Star Wars card back. The background image on the card looks fantastic with Hondo off to the side. And then of course through the blister you see the included action figure you're getting. Backside of the card, nothing new here. Top right corner, you're going to get the number for the line, which in this case is number 173. The rest of the top half shows off 8 figures that are available in the line at this time, and then the bottom of the card is your legal information. And now looking at the figure out of the packaging, overall, very beautiful looking action figure. There are some spots here and there that I feel like they skimped out on, but I don't think it takes away from the overall impact of how good the figure looks. I will say immediately one thing I did have a hard time with was getting this figure to remain standing up or find that sweet spot. It seems like he shouldn't have any trouble, but we'll just get right down to the feet. You'll see that plastic gets pretty thin below the ankle joint. So the feet on my figure have just a little bit of curve to them. Certainly something that might not be the same for everyone out there. I mean, I haven't read that much about people having problems getting this guy to stand up. And to note, my understanding is this is the exact same figure that you received with the Galaxy's Edge Millennium Falcon, which was a Target exclusive. I have that. I haven't opened it yet, so I won't show these two figures as side-by-side comparison yet. But I will do a comparison of the two when I go through the Millennium Falcon for that review. Going in for a close look at the head sculpting, again, looking fantastic. Sculpting for the individual dreadlocks of his hair looks good. You have a couple different colors painted in there for the little bands holding his hair in place. Some reds, kind of an off-white color. That helmet that you see, not removable, that is glued onto the figure's head. The design of it, the way it was sculpted, certainly matches up very well with how he looks at Galaxy's Edge. Coloring does feel off to me. This is one of the little small nitpick gripes I have about it. Seems like it should be a dark gray color, maybe more of a tarnished look to it. Instead, you're kind of getting a clean bronze color. It does push the figure into looking just a little bit more toyish. I know it's a toy, but I think you get what I mean. Instead of having that, just that added vintage collection punch of paint that we usually get. Sculpting for the face looks great. I love the texture that you're getting in the skin. Little horns coming off the sides of his chin. Nice white paint to those, staying right where it needs to be. Sculpting for the goggles looks good. Coloring for that seems placed very well. And then even painting for the eyes looks great in there. Moving down to the rest of the figure. First off, over the body, you're going to see the long red trench coat. Very vibrant red color. I'm a little mixed on how this should actually look. It seems by the video I've seen of Inside Galaxy's Edge, I haven't been there myself, that the character does indeed have a bright red coat, but when actors are standing outside, the coat is a much darker color. I really don't care either way. I think it looks good. Wonderful texturing of the fabric being sculpted in there for some added detail. You're obviously getting some ruffles and folds sculpted in to give it a little bit of added dimension. But like I said, some of that texture certainly is in there for the black part, or dark blue color I should say, over the shoulders. You're getting some horizontal rib texture. You can make out a belt sculpted wrapping around the outside of that robe, and then some vertical ribbing texture sculpted right at the front edge of that trench coat. Coloring on the sleeves matches up close. It's a smidge darker on the arms of the figure than it is on the outer shell of the coat. Nice painting for the gold emblems on each side of the shoulder. The gauntlets on each of his wrists looks nice also. Decent sculpt in there for some detailing. And really only one of the few spots on this figure, actually I think that might be the only spot on his wrist, that has some added weathering. And that part does look very well done. I like the attention to detail with the red piping being placed on the outside of his blue gloves. Lines might be a little thick, but it's getting kind of nitpicky on that, I think. As for the shirt underneath the coat, yeah, white shirt. It's got some decent texturing in there for some ruffles and folds of the fabric. You get some seam detailing running down the center of the chest. And then above that white looks like a blue shirt with a thin red line painted in. Again, all of that staying right where it needs to be. Around the waist, brown belt and holster hanging off the right side of his hip. Seen 2 different placements for this, both on the right and then on the left. Black Series figure has the holster on the left side. The photo on the front of the card has the holster on his left side. The animatronic has it on his right side, and yet the photos I've seen of actors outside have him wearing the holster on the left side. So really, I guess either one can be correct. I love the way the trench coat kind of curves back. As you see when I go through the accessories, that gun slides into that holster. It gives it a nice little reveal. That gold painting on the buckle is okay. Up close on the camera, placement probably looks more off than it does to the eye. I mean, yes, it is off. Obviously, you see it. But in the hand, it doesn't look so bad. And they did a decent job of trying to sculpt out the little detail of, whatever face that is supposed to be. They get an E for effort on that one. And then continuing to move down, brown pants. The usual sculpting you're used to seeing there. A little bit of ruffles and folds sculpted in. The strap for the holster running around his right thigh. That is only detailed onto the thigh itself. It's not attached to the holster, so the holster does dangle freely from his right thigh. One thing I will say about the thighs, they're a touch loose. I mean, they're easy to move, but also one thing that it is giving you as you look at the figure on camera, you got a little bit of a gap in there from the top of the thigh going into the little piece that sticks out of the hip. Or at least that's obviously the case on mine. Maybe yours will be different. It's just not as seamless of a look as they usually are on these figures. And then moving down to the feet, black boots, decent sculpting. And as I mentioned earlier, the bottom of his feet where they attach to the ankle is just super thin. The figure does have a peg hole for standing him on an action figure stand, but that's placed at the front of the foot. But aside from that, as far as looks go, it looks really nice. As for articulation, head's going to swivel all the way around. Little bit of up and down movement and some side to side. Both shoulders give you a full 360 rotation, and they hinge up pretty much straight out. Hinge and swivel at the elbow, both wrists swivel and hinge up and down. Swivel at the waist. You get some crunching side to side, but nothing forward and back, or at least he doesn't hold that position. It just snaps straight back up and down. At the thigh, the legs hinge out and also swivel. As expected with the long trench coat, you're not getting a lot of range of motion in there. You get your rotation at the top of the thigh, at the knee, hinge and swivel, and then for the ankles you get a good forward and back, and also your rotation. And for accessories, comes with a single blaster, decent sculpting to it. The look of it certainly seems to match up well with what I see on the photo on the front of the card. The only difference is, obviously, this is all black, and it seems that his should be silver and some browns on the handle. Just not getting that with this, so that's a little unfortunate. And then also, I will say this plastic is super soft, so it's a tighter grip going into his hand, so it makes it a little bit difficult to get that in there because it's constantly bending. Once you get it in though, the index finger on his right hand is sculpted out so it can slide into that trigger. And if you don't want him holding on to it, like I said, that functioning holster, you can slide it in there, do whatever you want, have the handle tucked on the inside of his trench coat, or even leave it sticking out. So overall for me, like I said, this is really a good looking figure. Hondo is one of my favorite characters from the Clone Wars, and I was glad that he popped up in Rebels. And I think that it's great that they're still making use of him in the theme parks with Galaxy's Edge. So getting that representation of him in the action figure form is really nice. Like I said, I think they just did a great job with it. And if you missed out on picking up the Millennium Falcon, where he came included, at least you got a shot at picking him up as an individual carded figure. So that's going to wrap this one up. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on this figure in the comments section below. And as always, thanks for watching.